and for ourselves is the two things. One is I think there is a deep sense of loneliness that a lot of people are experiencing. And two, both for the kids who are returning home from college and for people who are working, have been historically working really hard, there's a lot of intimacy that is forced upon us right now. There are a lot of people who are spending a lot of time with people they have not historically spent a lot of time with. And I firmly believe that in 9 months there'll be a baby boom. And I also believe that there will be a divorce boom. That our frustration level with the people that we love and are now in very close proximity to will really escalate. And so, and I actually think that for teenagers to hear your parents are going to drive you crazy and they're going to drive each other crazy is calming. Yes, I saw that it happened in China. There were like 300 people filed for divorce the first day they were allowed out of their houses or something. Is that right, Barbie? I think we're going to see that, and I think we're going to see it on a huge scale. Divorce is one of the ways that people respond to stress. And I think there are going to be a lot of people who are going to say to themselves, oh my God, I just spent 3 weeks with you and that's enough. I actually think if we predict for our families that there may be an escalation in fighting, that may actually help. Oh, because then it's not something that is happening to me, it's something that's a normal part of the process. And I think we should expect that with our teenagers who are returning home, having been cheated out of 2 or 3 months of college, having been cheated out of graduation, and then stuck in their houses. So we should expect all of that.
So Betsy, can we check in with people now just to see, for those who have been interacting a bit with their teens, kind of where their teens are at? What are they asking for? What are they worried about? What are they needing from us? Could we just do a little, either in the chat box, or if you want to unmute, you can do that too.
All right, I'm happy to be the first one to jump in.
Always brave, Ethan.
For those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Ethan. I'm an assistant director at URJ Green Family Camp and the NIFTY Texas-Oklahoma Regional Director. It's been a very, very long week, and I'm backdating to last Wednesday, where we very quickly made the decision to cancel all of our spring events. And so our teens had a little bit of sense of the kind of the coming tidal wave for them, but still the announcement that we canceled their last event of the year. I know that there are some people I work with who don't like using mourning because there are actual deaths that are going to take place because of this. But I do think that for a lot of our teens, there's a sense of mourning right now that, you know, they have these big tentpole events in their life. Proms, graduation. For us, it's our NIFTY senior event that now is not going to take place physically, and they're processing loss. And I've worked to try and push our community towards, you know, yes, this is gone, and what are we going to do in its place? We're very clearly not all there yet. So I'm working to take a bit of a step back and acknowledge their brains need a little more time.
So 2 things. I mean, but Ethan is saying, and then everybody, people in the chat box are also saying how incredibly disappointed they are. Look, we don't only mourn for deaths. We mourn for the loss of, we mourn when our cat runs away. We mourn when we get a bad grade. Mourning is not something that demands a death. It demands a loss. And here we have real losses. And part of what we have losses is of ritual. That rituals are things that we look forward to, and we we anticipate that the ritual is going to be meaningful. Sometimes rituals aren't even as meaningful as we think. I mean, think about how many kids cry at their birthday parties, because birthday parties are actually not as much fun as the anticipation of a birthday party. I'm thinking more about younger kids. So the rituals are a real loss, and all of we are experiencing that. Our kids are experiencing that, and I think that one of the things that you're noticing, Ethan, is that the let's move on and try to create something doesn't happen immediately. It first we have to say goodbye. So if I could use the analogy of the loss of a pet, you don't go from the vet to the pound. You spend some time without a pet, even if you know you're always going to get another pet. So there is a lag time in grief, which is the kind of confusion lag time. I don't understand what's happening to me lag time. And we can't expect our kids to move away from the grief. When we try to shove them to do that, what we're actually telling them is that their grief isn't important. I would think about whether or not, and I'm going to ask you all what kind of rituals you've come up with, but I would think about whether or not there are rituals that are grief rituals that might be helpful to our kids as they navigate no, there's not going to be the last lock-in. What kind of rituals would be good grief rituals? Jews are really good at grief rituals. We're really good at them. So, like, what would be a reasonable ritual? I think that that we could put together the equivalent of a Shiva Minyan for that spring event. What did you miss? And have the kids talk about what they miss and what they learned. Ultimately, and we will get here, I think we have to think about programming in the short haul and programming in the long haul. The questions of what do we do now are in some sense, the easier questions. Well, what do we do if we're still doing this in 3 months? Is a really different question. It's a question of human connection and of nurturing and all sorts of other things. This is a question of a crisis. A crisis changes when it becomes normative. And right now we're in, that part of the crisis, but we're not in the reverberations yet. And we have to be programming for both. Elena, I love those activities. And I think things like an at-home scavenger hunt could be part of a morning ritual. So for example, everybody wear your camp t-shirt or your youth group t-shirt. And I think, and then bring something that you associate with camp, and let's all talk about them. That's a morning ritual. That's saying I'm going to miss X, and that's a morning ritual. You don't have to call it a morning ritual, but it is. Shara's experiencing kids who want just to sleep. I think that's what you're saying, that it's like it's spring break. And I think that is a different way of processing this. They will get to where Ethan's kids are. They're just not there yet. And at some point they're going to say, what just happened to us? But right now that's on hold. They'll get there. Don't worry about it.
Betsy.
Yes.
Sorry, just sort of going with the point that you're bringing up. I wonder if in some ways we may be doing our teens a disservice by acting as if things are normal, by giving them or trying to give them the same kinds of experiences that we have been giving them, kind of pretending as if everything is okay. We're just doing it in a virtual way, rather than acknowledging this shift, giving the time it needs for that acknowledgement, for that to soak in, and then saying, this is what we're going to do next, or in the meantime, or differently.
So Erica and I decided to start by asking you for your adjectives at the beginning of this, because unless you feel what's happening inside you, your brain's not going to activate. That when we're upset, we're not thinking. And even when we're chronically, when we're in day 6 or day 8 or day 12 of just kind of low grade distress, your brain is not working. That's part of what happens in mourning, is that we don't think clearly. And so one of the things that we intentionally did was give you the opportunity to say what you felt or what your teens felt, so that we could take that and almost put it aside and access your brains. If you say to your kids, the situation is normal, they're not going to be able to access what you are trying to present to them. I think that we are much more effective if we say to our kids, this is crazy. We all feel crazy. Tell me how you feel crazy. And then go from there. Again, this is not about content, it's about connection. Content comes secondary. Connection is what we start with. I'm sorry. I am not dying. I think I just swallowed water wrong. So let's take a couple minutes now. Nolan, can I call on you to talk to us about what BBYO is doing? And then I'm going to ask the rest of you to think about what kind of programming you're doing.
Yeah, sure.
I want to call, after Nolan, I want to call, if he is okay with it, on Brett also, because he's been doing some rock star stuff in Boston, and I'd love for him to share some of the resources that he's put together as well.
How many minutes do you think I have? 5, 4, 3? Something like that.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Nolan. I'm in Washington, D.C. in my apartment, like everyone else. It's great to see everyone and everyone's homes. I work for BBYO. It's nice to see some familiar faces and lots of new ones. So thank you very, very much for having me. And thank you, Betsy, for that, wonderful set. That was, a lot of that really resonated with me. I took some notes. That was really helpful. And to put some words to like kind of what we're going through was awesome. And I think the thing that caught on me most was that you were saying how it is a time when we need to build a connection, and when we're, isolated, but we need to find a reason to connect and to either commiserate in what we're feeling together or do something else, but to be together. And about a week ago, a group of some really entrepreneurial teens and a few of us staff at BBYO basically had this same conversation about everyone is social distancing. We're looking like we're soon going to all have to be in our homes. And so what does that mean for us? And what does that mean for Jewish teens and young adults around the world? And we basically came together under this idea of social connecting rather than social distancing. And how can we use the situation that we're in to encourage us to connect more rather than be distant from each other? And luckily we have the internet and lots of amazing tools to do that. And so we have basically built at BBYO with lots of partners around the world a platform that is helping to connect Jewish teens and young adults with content that is happening all the time and that is exciting, that is relevant, that is cool. The second thing that really resonated with me is that you said that teens have never been less scheduled. And I think we've seen that that's really true. We always talk about here at BBYO, our competition is, other extracurriculars. Our competition is their, parties on Saturday nights when they don't want to come to programming. Our competition is everything else that's going on, and suddenly there's nothing else going on. So what are we going to do about it? And so we decided basically to build this platform. I'm going to share my screen for a second and do a quick walkthrough of you so you can see what this is. It's all available at bbyo.org/on-demand, which you can go to yourself. And I won't go into details, but I'll scroll through and show you basically what the platform is. And so the main way that you can access it is through the BBYO On-Demand schedule, which is basically an all-the-time running live schedule where anyone, teens from around the world, partners, facilitators, educators, guests, celebrities, can submit sessions that they want to run either on Zoom, on a different platform, to connect teens and young adults from around the world. So you'll see that right now happening is Israeli food cooking demo, is another cooking experience with 2 teens, is how to buy and what to cook, a lot of cooking happening at 4 o'clock. And then coming up at 5 is a few more things. And there's just stuff literally all day, every day happening here. And so these are what we're calling like episodes or mini-series. And they are just submitted by people all over the world to run for teens and young adults, Jewish teens and young adults around the world. There's also some special access experiences. So these are a lot of what I think you guys are considering. How do we, run ourselves? And so these are, local chapter, club, or group events that are popping up where you want to be able to connect your group, your organization, or your teens, and you can have what's a special access. It's not open to everyone, but a specific, group or team that's getting together to talk about the situation, to talk about something else, to do something fun. And how we're doing that, basically, what you can do is that there's lots of program ideas down here. And so some of the stuff that you guys were sending, like Alana sent so many great ideas in the chat. There's tons of stuff in here as well that is getting added every day for virtual program ideas, for support for the community, for discovering Jewish learning during this time. And so there's a ton of inspiration and resources that you can grab for on here as well. And then the other things that I'll point out is that there's a library that's being built of recorded videos and podcasts. And we also just added yesterday playlists that are being made. So you'll see like Quarantunes was a session that happened yesterday where the teens made a 15-minute playlist that they wanted to listen to together. And so there's a lot of ways to explore not just live content, but existing content from educators, from guests, from speakers, etc. And then the last basically portal through is that there's also global online esports and e-gaming that the teens can participate in, to just have fun, to just experience each other around the world connected and not alone in their room. We don't care, personally, I don't care if a teen's going to sit home and play video games. I think that's great if they're going to do it with friends from around the world and make connections here. So there's a always on basically like server where you can chat and talk to other gamers. And then there's also tournaments that are happening. There's a 2K20 basketball tournament that's happening Saturday night. There's no sports. So how do we, make that happen is going to be right here through an experience online together. And there's lots more sections here. And most importantly, before I ask if there's any questions, there's a really growing network of partners that we're building this with. And any and all of your organizations can partner with us. It doesn't take much. There's no real formal process. I'll give you my contact information. You reach out. And if you want to have your organization, your teens, whatever it might be, if you want to add sessions to that program calendar so that the world can come together, this is becoming like a town square for Jewish teen activities. And so, to get your activities out there, but also to have your teens be able to find additional activities that are happening with teens from around the world, the more the merrier, the better that it is. We want everything and anything because we want to be able to bring everyone together here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will take a few questions if there's any.
So Susan wants to know if you have to register and log in.
Yeah, that's a great question. So you do not have to register. So there's no organizational affiliation or anything that you need. For a lot of the calls, when you go on to an episode to view live, there is a registration through there. So if you guys are having, let's say, your own organization special access experience, we can give you that registration info. There's also ways to make it open. There's lots of different options, but there's no you don't have to be a BBYO member, nothing like that you have to do to get onto any of the content.
I'm curious, Nolan, whether or not there's also outreach to parents on this, on this site, because I think a lot of parents are having a really hard time. And there's
Totally.
lots of stuff that's coming up to entertain your smaller children. I'm wondering if you are also reaching out to parents.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So yes, I was on a call just earlier today about a lot of content and sessions we want to build for the college admissions process with a college counselor she was an admissions director for 10 years and now is a private college counselor. And we were talking also just about this, and they're canceling SATs and ACTs, and you can't go visit schools, and how do you navigate that? And so we're looking at building out for teens and also for parents a lot of that. And a lot of the stuff we were talking about at the beginning as well, we're talking about having on there for parents, how to cope with what's happening, how to, keep your teen occupied, how to not fight every 5 seconds, all that stuff is what we want on here. So the main audience is obviously Jewish teens and young adults, the post B'nai Mitzvah space, all the way until, in some cases, like 24. We are partnering with, we mentioned Hillel at the beginning as well. So there's definitely a lot of like whole family experiences, and parents as well are definitely a focus. And we want to get more parent content on there. So if you have ideas or things, the whole idea is that the episodes and miniseries and everything, they come from everywhere. And so if you're running something already planned, or you think of something new, or you personally have some expertise that we don't know about, go right ahead and submit it. And it's a platform and an audience that Jewish teens everywhere that are coming on here hungry for stuff to do. And we've seen great, numbers of teens showing up to these sessions that have happened already, because I think you're right. They're just looking for something to fill their time with, and they've jumped on a lot of the content here.
That's great. That's great. And Brett, what can you share with us what you're up to?
Hi, sure. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. So in Boston, we've been working with our community partners to kind of ask a lot of these questions. And I was excited when I saw this webinar was being offered today, because I've been having Betsy in my ear while we've been, didn't mean to surprise you there. And while we've kind of been tackling this, because as everybody's been saying, like, I really last week, like our teens were angry, and they were really trying to process this abrupt transition where they were looking forward to all of these closure experiences, and all of a sudden it's just kind of been flipped on its head. And so we're working on a few different initiatives in Boston. One is this year we've developed JewishBostonTeens.com, which is a central connector for all things teens, parents, and Jewish professionals. And it's still in the process of being built, but it's a central connector to be able to have a list of different events and blog posts and resources and all the things. So that's one way that we're trying to take advantage of that new tool and be able to block out a lot of the noise that is really overwhelming out there at times, and also help our teens and our parents to be able to identify some sources that they might not know about, or how to sift through that noise. So that's one. To that regard, I've partnered with a bunch of my colleagues in the Boston area to create a series of resources and blog posts. So the first came out last week, and I'm gonna type in the links right here for you in the chat box. We had one blog post that is specifically a teen support guide for navigating where we are, and it really focused a lot on mental health and wellness, and that's what we're hearing from a lot of our teens. And then the second post is geared more towards parents and professionals. We're currently working on creating additional resources and posts, and our team of peer leadership fellows. So we took we partnered with Hillel International 4 years ago to bring their peer engagement methodology to the teen space. And so we have cohorts of teens that reach out to their peers once a month to help connect them to the Jewish community in the ways that they would like to. So we hit the brakes for a week to kind of reassess and see if we needed to pivot. And we've met with those teens over the past few nights and we're creating new resources for them to reach out to their peers and connect them to BBYO On Demand and all the great resources that are out there, as well as just be able to check in and say, hey, how are you doing? And like, how can your community help support you and connect you in the ways that you would like? So that's what we're working on. And our Peer Leadership Fellows program is running in a few different cities in partnership with some of the Teen Funders Collaborative programs. So happy to speak to anybody about that. And we're just trying to listen and learn. I'm also working with a lot of our alumni who have done different programs in the Boston area, who are now home from college because of these abrupt transitions, to see if they would like to do some writing about their experiences on college campus and connect with our teens who are preparing to go to college and their Jewish journeys post high school.
That's great. I'm going to suggest to all of you that a monthly outreach is probably not enough in this time. Weekly is fine, but I actually think that all of us should be, there should be, everybody you know of should be on a schedule that they're going to get a phone call, not from you. I'm not saying that Brett, you have to call every teen in Boston, but that this is a time to make sure that people are connected. And I would suggest to you that you, to the extent that you can, that you divide people up. And, Ethan, do you take the counselors from the bunks last year and have them divide the kids and call each kid once a week? It's probably not a bad idea. And it's frankly probably not a bad idea for the counselors to have that experience. I don't think we're using them, truly using them in that situation. I think that actually it gives them a sense of being useful in the same way that being a counselor at camp does. So I would think about the ways in which you're doing literally phone outreach, as opposed to email or text outreach. So let's take a couple minutes. We've heard from BBYO and we've heard from Jewish Boston. I'm curious to know what kind of programming you're doing in the short run and what you're thinking about programmatically for the long run. So if you've done programming that you thought was successful or that you thought was a flop, either one, we learned from both. If you would unmute yourself and share with us what you've done that has worked. Sophia, I don't know. Go ahead.
I'll jump in. Hi, everyone. Eric Goldberg. I work up for Congregation Beth Shalom in Northbrook, Illinois. That's right outside of Chicago. I run a US-wide chapter as well as like a bunch of other programming within the synagogue for Birth to 18. I'll specifically talk about what I'm doing for my high schoolers since it's J18. But we're actually, we announced on Monday that we're doing programming every single day of the week, Monday through Thursday, with not including Shabbat in there. But basically, it's all about different aspects of the values of our chapter and what our kids have, our teen board has decided are the important parts of what we're trying to do. And each day focusing on different ways of engagement, different age groups, and different passions that our teens show. So on Monday night, we'll be doing every week until we resume normal scheduling. We'll be doing Parsha talks with one of our rabbis, and just talking about how it relates to the teens' lives during this time of social distancing and everything else going on in the world besides COVID-19. And then we also do something to engage our underclassmen and 8th graders because they are sometimes the forgotten group. We're doing something called Freshman FaceTimes, which is just another Zoom call, but it's going to be ran completely by our freshman representatives. And they are just going to have a great time and hang out and do all of those. Susan, great question. I'm using Zoom for almost everything I am doing in terms of interactions and engagement live. On Tuesdays, we're going a little more offline, no Zooms, but just challenges. We started yesterday, kicking off with our TikTok Tuesday challenge, where we provided a hashtag and we were giving away free swag from our chapter. We had over 30 kids submit videos on TikTok. So when we're looking at it from just a chapter level, that's pretty awesome. And we're also doing Teletoon Tuesdays, where kids are sharing, their favorite versions of tunes from their camps or places they've heard it, maybe Song Leader Boot Camp, and they're sharing those tunes and saying the impact they have had. Wednesdays, we're doing Israel Talk. So tonight from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time, you can jump on the Zoom call. It's all over our Facebooks, Instagrams, and whatnot, where we have one of our advisors is also a Stand With Us high school engagement coordinator. So he's going to be jumping on and talking about current events, culture, history, everything Israel that you can think of. And then Thursday nights, we're running lounge nights virtually. And the kids have dynamic programming, everything from house hunts to some crazy other programming that we're kicking off. And they've been putting in a lot of effort. So that's kind of what we're doing in the meantime for our program.
Eric, those sound great. And I want to suggest to you that you pay a lot of attention to who drops out. Mm-hmm. Because we know that of course some kids will drop out, but I think that if you have a kid who drops out that you are surprised by, that you really that needs a phone call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then if anybody wants to join in on the calls or be a part of our lounge nights, my kids are more than excited to have as many different people on. So please reach out to me. You can message in the Zoom chat. I can put my email or anything if anybody wants to reach out.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much. Somebody else.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I work with teens in Boston as well. I work for the Diller Teen Fellows at the JCC of Greater Boston. So I'm actually meeting with my team soon. I'm going to be asking them, how often do you want to meet? What do you want to see? So I'm trying to give them the leadership really back in their hands. I will give them some concrete ideas to get the gears turning. Some ideas that I came up with are maybe doing virtual cooking together, doing TED Talks led by the teens, doing pre-Shabbat programming, bringing in a speaker, maybe having like a Zoom thing like a poetry night or arts night with a specialist who can come, sending something physical to them like a jar and doing a gratitude jar with them.
Let me stop you for a second. I think that's a brilliant idea because I think anything physical has a different Kishka experience than anything not physical. So I would absolutely do that. And I think, Eric, you could also do something like a gratitude jar that sits in your house where they say to you, this is what I want to put in, and you put it in, as well as in their homes. Because that's our shared gratitude as opposed to my gratitude. I think both are really useful. Go ahead. I'm so sorry that I interrupted you, Sophia, but I wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, totally fine. Just a couple more things of ways to check in throughout, or they can check in on each other. You could do walking buddies where they could go walk around the block and call another teen or a staff member and walk together. We have fellows who do fellow of the day or teen of the day, and that assigns fun tasks for their peers. As someone mentioned, doing TikTok accounts, and also a circle of caregiving where one teen can check in on another teen, and every teen has someone who checks in on them and someone they check in on. But of course, that should be something that they should opt in on and feel comfortable doing. So those are some ideas.
That's great. Wonderful. I know we're nearly out of time, and I see everybody is feeling like they have to leave. I want you to think about so first of all, if you have ideas, quickly type them in the chat box because Erica is going to send the chat box out to anybody who wants it, including if you want to put your own email in there so that other people have it. That'd be great. Like Sophia, I think people are going to want yours. and I want to answer Denise's question, but first, I also want you to think about how this is going to look if you're still doing this in a couple months. And I want to think that's not going to be the case, but I'm not optimistic. And so I want you to be thinking about, we are, as a culture and as human beings, we are actually more reactive than proactive. I want you to think about what you would be doing that would be proactive. Because anything that is one-off, I can opt in, I can opt out. I actually want you to think about building something which extends for a longer period of time, so that they're not having single experiences, but they're having single experiences in the context of something bigger. That might be struggling with ethical dilemmas that you present to them. I mean, I think adolescents love ethical dilemmas, so because they're so often right. And I think that if you began to present an ongoing ethical dilemma, which you unfolded for them, much like a choose your own adventure book that unfolds a bit at a time, I think you could create something which would create connection over time. I'd like to see, Brett, I bet you all could do something amazing with that. And if you do, I want to see it. Okay. I also think, I want to speak to the question of younger kids. Middle school kids are having a completely different, pre-bar bat mitzvah kids are having a totally different experience, because they have been looking towards this event for so long, and it has been postponed or canceled or virtualized. And all of those are disappointing. They also are an opportunity for us to engage kids in a longer process. I'd like for us to be thinking with kids about what it means to have this loss. I think middle schoolers need, pedagogically, middle schoolers are not at the same places that adolescents are. Their brains are not in the same places. And so they are, what they are looking for and what they need is different. I would not set up a bunch of sixth graders with an ethical challenge without a really gifted teacher. So I'm just thinking, good ideas for adolescents are probably many more of those one-off ideas. Gaming, creating a book in a group where I write a chapter and then you write a chapter, actually is a way for adolescents, younger adolescents, to engage. I think that anything that builds is more useful than anything that is one-off. But it's really easier to create the one-off than it is to create the building things. So I'm going to suggest to you that what you want to be doing is creating things that are Lego-like, where the base actually supports an extension, because I think that way you're going to be able to engage people for a longer period of time. My email, I'm putting in the bottom in case I can be helpful to any of you. I hope that, I hope we won't be doing this again in 2 weeks, but if we are, we are. And we will get through this. So in Buddhism, one of the things they teach you is to hold the thing lightly, to feel your feelings and not get increasingly rigid, but to feel your feelings in an expansive way. And if I could give any of us a gift right now, it would be to say to you, don't hold this tightly, hold it loosely. because in fact, that is the way it won't trap you. So I thank you all for being here and for what you all are doing. And please let me know or Erica know if we can be helpful in any other way. Erica, you probably have some final thoughts.
Just thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for participating. Betsy, you are an amazing resource and just a gem, and we're thrilled that you're part of our community. And I put in the chat box just a minute ago, if you're interested in getting information from what people shared, just send me an email or post it in the chat box before I close this meeting out. My email is Erica N. Haruvi, ERICANHRUVY.
It's such a weird name. I'm going to write it for you.
Oh yeah, I could do that. I'll put it in there.
At what?
At jteenprofessionals with an S.org. And please go to the Facebook page. If you haven't joined the Facebook page, please do so. As information is coming along to me, I'm trying to just share out resources, share out webinars, share out as much as I possibly can that's coming my way. And please, if you have additional ideas that you weren't able to share, also post those on the JTeen Facebook page. We all need each other to do this work. And we appreciate one another wholeheartedly, especially during times like this.
Go eat sugar. Bye all.
Thank you.